Good afternoon to you all. Let me welcome our guest lecturer, Mr. Kaushika Jalat, who will be today speaking on the Future Ready CMA, leveraging AI for a competitive advantage. So indeed, I'm happy that we connected with our Silver Jubilee celebrations. We are organizing a number of events, and the webinars are also one of the key ones that we are organizing. So today's CPD program will be also one that is connected with. Now, if you really look at some of the areas that we are planning to launch with the Silver Jubilee celebrations, we are of course planning to give 100 scholarships to the students who are doing very well in their studies, and also those from the rural and village areas. So this is one thing that we are doing, and also we will make available the video lectures for the students so that it will help them a great deal. Some of the other programs, of course, is the new program that we launched, which is the Certificate in Accounting and Technology for the O-level students, which is really a bridging program or a conversion program for those who complete that program to go directly into the professional program. So that's another method by which many of our young school-going students will be able to make use of this. Then also we've launched our new syllabus, which is again connected with what we are all doing on equipping future accountants. Now, if you really look at this, the three focus areas that corporate leaders define as the core requirements of a future-ready accountant. Now, you must be really aware, because we've done a series of maybe discussions and seminars with them. And what they say that it's namely digitally enabled. Now, that's closely connected with what we are doing on the AI or artificial intelligence, which we are doing today. The second one is, of course, value driven. All accountants would have to not only drive, but also create value. So that's another important area. And of course, the solution savvy, providing solutions. So our new syllabus is equipping them with the various subjects that we are doing, including sustainability and the management accounting and financial accounting, taxation, digital business, so many areas to drive this theme of equipping future accountants. So today we are very happy that we are having someone who's been with us many a times, including the last conference, where he again spoke on AI and, of course, the importance of AI and the applicability. And I think you should all know that when we evaluated all the speakers, the one who was mostly appreciated and accepted was Mr. Kaushika Jala. So we are indeed happy that he's been with us. He's now a fellow member of our CMA. He is also a fellow member of CPA Australia. In addition to that, he is also on the council or the board of CPA Australia. So that's another area where we are very happy, because we have a very close connection with CPA Australia, where we've signed MRA with them, and our students could now sit for the CPA exams in Sri Lanka, where they have to do 3 subjects and then get the membership and qualify at the exam, and of course, where they can easily go to Australia. So these are some of the advantages that we have. And as I said earlier, another event that we are organizing is the Global Management Accounting Conference. I'm sure our speaker today, Mr. Kaushika, will be there. He was there at the last conference. It's towards the end of July. We'll send you details. And it's also going to be focused more on AI, and also the impact on the economy, on the and how CMA accountants can really play a major role in this. So with that, I would like to briefly introduce Mr. Kaushika Jayalat, as I mentioned earlier, is a fellow member of CMA, Sri Lanka, fellow member of CPA Australia. Kaushika is an experienced solutions consultant at Oracle Corporation, implementing cloud technology applications to drive enterprise finance transformations, business process improvements, and change management. Kaushika is the education industry lead in Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia for Oracle Cloud applications. Kaushika is also a non-executive director of CPA Australia's board of directors, catering to strategy development, risk management, and ensuring compliance with organizations' constitutions. Passionate about bridging the digital skills gap, Kaushika is an industry mentor and guest lecturer at Monash University, Swinburne University, and University of Queensland. Kaushika has previously held a series of senior finance, accounting, business analysis, and project management roles in Melbourne. Kaushika was awarded the CPA Australia Certificate of Excellence. He was a finalist for Not-for-Profit Accountant of the Year at the Australian Accounting Awards and Specialist Consultant for the Accountants Daily 30 Under Awards in 2020 and 2021. Kaushika has a Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Economics, majoring in accounting, finance, and economics at Monash University. Kaushika holds a Diploma of Business and is a World Prize winner. Kaushika is certified in IT Service Management, Cloud ERP Solutions, AI, and ML, and is an Order of Merit graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. So we are very happy that Mr. Kaushika has accepted our invitation. Today we have a major audience. I think we had about 500 registrations. We have our members who are there. Then we've also invited those from the corporate sector and also our students, as this is going to be really a very key area of future-ready CMA, leveraging AI for a competitive advantage. And I also remember what was said, AI will not replace you, but someone using AI will replace you. So over to you, Kaushik.
Thank you. So I'll keep things, I'll share my screen, and first let's make sure you can actually see my screen before we start.
Okay, that's okay. You can start here.
Yeah. Okay.
You can start share screen.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yeah, fine,
All right.
fine.
All right. Thank you, Professor Waterwell. I think continuing from last year's conversation as well, this session, I'll try and keep it a little interactive again, just so everyone can play a part in the webinar as well. Learning about AI and learning about what's next in AI. It's very difficult to do it by just reading a book or reading something. You have to actually see it in practice. You have to change the way you think about it. So in order for me to do that, though, I first need to understand how everyone perceives AI already. So everyone on this call, everyone on this webinar, it's good to have some kind of interaction as well. So I'll set up this interactive webinar so that there'll be questions that'll come up as we go along, and we'll what we'll try and do is get everyone's point of view as we go along, because otherwise it's very difficult to learn about something if I don't understand where everyone's point of view is at as well. So with that, I will just the agenda for today. We'll understand a few of the practical implications of AI, especially in the world of accounting and finance. I'm based in Melbourne, and I largely look after businesses in Australia and New Zealand, with a little bit of exposure now into Southeast Asia as well. So I see a very different point of view about how businesses understand AI and how they want to use AI. One big difference is the fact that most of these businesses have innovation budgets, and they tend to spend a lot of money on experimenting with AI, and then they build up capabilities which then their organizations, which their staff then leverage. That is very different to the ecosystem in South Asia. That is very different to the ecosystem in North America or in Europe. So it's important for me to then share some of the learnings. We see a lot of innovation out of the US. We see a lot of innovation out of Europe. After that, the Asia Pacific region has a lot of innovation as well. So we'll share about some of those use cases, how AI is used in a practical sense. And then let's look at real world use cases. We'll look at a few statistics as well that is coming out. I recently was lucky to get a copy of a KPMG report that was done with the University of Melbourne that's assessing 50 countries on the use of AI, and some of the information that is coming out of it. I'd like to see how much it resonates with what the audience here sees as well. Then we'll talk a little bit about AI ethics and the governance frameworks around using AI. That really needs to play a part because that is one of the main pieces of this puzzle that is not being talked about enough. Everyone jumps into using AI without really understanding the implications of it for your business, for your customer, for the work you do, and for you as a working professional. And then we'll end by looking at a few AI agents as well. Now, to start with, I'm going to show, and this is just an icebreaker. I just wanted to show 3 videos here, and I'll open up the webinar in a second and the questions in a second. And I want you to have a good look at this video right now. I want you to pick out which of these 3 videos are AI generated. So have a good look. I'll give another 5-10 seconds, and I'll open the question panel. It's on Menti, and there'll be a QR code there in a second. Once you've had a good look, now you can just jump onto this site or use this QR code, and there will be a question there on let's see if this works. This should work. Let's go. Yeah. When you go there, you'll see there'll be a question saying which of these 3 videos are AI generated. And you should be able to see everyone else's responses as well. I'll just pull this here so you should be able to see it as well. While everyone's starting to fill it out. Sorry, there we go. I intentionally didn't give a lot of time to see the videos, otherwise you'll be able to pick which one it is. Let's give it another couple of minutes. If you're not able to log in, just make sure you use that. You just go to menti.com and put this code in, and then you'll be able to connect. I'm going to pause. I'm intentionally going to pause it so you can't actually see the results. Otherwise, everyone's picking the one that everyone else has seen. I'll give it another 30 seconds, and then we're done. All right. Okay, so the results as of right now, everyone seems to be thinking that this video of the beach seems to be AI generated. Here's the answer. All 3 of them were AI generated. And the reason why I intentionally asked you that question that way is because then you start to think one of these is AI generated and the others aren't. The point that I'm trying to make is if you looked at these 3 videos and you felt like one of these were real, one of these were not real, or one of these may have been real, the point I'm trying to make is it's increasingly starting to get more and more difficult to pick out which one's real and which one's fake. Now, if you apply that same concept of of not being able to pick out which video is real or not based on AI, giving you footage that you can't say which is real and which is not, then you're going to have the same problem when it comes to work. When you start using AI at work, there is a significant risk of hallucinations. There's a significant risk of the AI generated work that you are putting in front of someone might not be as accurate as it is. But on the flip side, they might not be able to say whether you did it, whether it's real, or whether it's AI generated. So the ethics component of AI becomes more and more important. Imagine this in the context of speaking to a client about a multi-million dollar deal. If you haven't gone through the data yourself, if that has just been AI generated, then it could lead to serious implications. And that is the context that I wanted to set around that. And actually, let's jump into that platform again, because I've got another couple of questions we can go through as well at the same time. The next question I wanted to pose is, what are you most afraid of when it comes to AI? So in your mind, I'm just going to hide the responses for now so you can't see what everyone's saying. Just go ahead and fill this out to say, do you think what are you most afraid of when it comes to AI? Is it job displacement? Is it loss of control over decision making and devaluation of expertise? Or is it a change of understanding, rapid change and skills gaps, ethical and legal risks, or data privacy and security? I'll put this over here as well so you can see it. There you go. Go ahead and put in these answers because it's important. Like this will really let me know how you actually perceive AI at the moment. Give it another 30 seconds. I'll actually put the clock on. So we'll give it another 30 seconds. There we go. How are we going? All right, just add 4 seconds. All right. 50 responses is good. We've got a few more responses. I'll let the remaining ones fill out as well. Okay, that's pretty much good. Let's look at the answers. So it's quite evenly split across people thinking it will replace your jobs, across loss of control over decision making, across lack of understanding and rapid changes and skills gaps. Legal and ethical risks seems to be quite high, but the biggest issue is data privacy and security. And that's, in line with what we see in the market as well. A lot of businesses are worried about the ethics component of it. A lot of businesses are worried about the data privacy component of it, which makes sense because if you don't understand the technology well enough, then it is highly likely that and you don't know where your data is going to be stored, it is highly likely that people would be concerned about data privacy and security. So, one more question to answer, but let's keep in mind these responses that we're getting because these are going to be important as we move along. Do you currently use AI tools at work? So this is also another question that'll be good to get a gauge on. So while people have certain concerns, some people are quite good at using AI already. So feel free to say whether, if you do, yes, you use free AI tools like Copilot, Gemini, or ChatGPT, or no, you only use AI tools for personal use. Or alternatively, is in your workplace has the place that you work has given you a specific AI tool that's dedicated to be used at work. Or you do not use AI tools at work or at home, but you are open to learning both. Or, blanket, you're not interested in using AI tools at the moment. All are options. It's important to figure out, where you stand. So we've got 68 people responding. So if you feel free to see how we go. I'll probably give it another 10 seconds. Okay, so let's have a look at the responses. Interesting. 39 say that yes, they use free AI tools like Copilot, Gemini, and ChatGPT at work. 8 say you only use AI for personal use. 9. And then there's another cohort that says you don't use it today, but you're opening to learning both. 1 said no, and then 2 said your workplace has given me specific AI tools dedicated to use at work. So this really paints a picture of this question really helps, or in any scenario, it helps to gauge the level of maturity when it comes to AI within your ecosystem, within your organization, within your industry, within the locale that you work in. The reason why that's important is because that tells me that there is not a lot of policies or there's not a lot of strategy around how AI is used. The 2 people that said that your workplace has given me specific AI tools dedicated to use at work, you only get a tool like that from work if that workplace already has a strategy around AI. The 41 uh, answers where you use free AI tools like Copilot, Gemini, and ChatGPT, that cohort is the most at risk in terms of using a tool without the proper safeguards in place. So for that cohort, really, it's either your company needs to tell you exactly how to use it, what to do, use it for, and what not to use it for, or it becomes your responsibility to learn it yourself. Keep in mind, I specifically mentioned AI tools at work. Just because you use AI tools in your personal life doesn't mean you use AI tools at work. And that's a cohort too. You can see that there's a good cohort that only use AI tools for personal use. And that's a safe way to approach this, which is to go, I'm not sure about how to use it. I'll use it at home. I'll use it for my personal life, but not necessarily when it comes to work. But there you run the risk of falling behind in terms of how easily your productivity is improved. When you talk about using AI tools, the biggest risk that you have is around the data privacy and the security behind it, especially if it's not your data. So the best example I can give you is you've got, let's say, a 25-page agreement that you have to read. It's to do with a deal that you're working on for your company. They want you to find out any. They want to build a, let's say, a revenue schedule or some kind of terms and conditions around the contract. You take all of the words of the contract, you chuck it into ChatGPT or Copilot, and you say, list out whatever your in this case, let's say, list out the revenue recognition methodology for this contract in line with IFRS 15. Let's say you're working with a international company and revenue recognition is a principle that you need to abide by. The moment that happens, the content of that agreement is now available on an open source platform. Tools like ChatGPT, tools like Gemini are open source. Those large language models are hosted for public use. And that means that data is now available for that large language model to learn from, unless you make it clear or you put in the safeguards so that it can't be used that way. That doesn't necessarily mean like much to you now, but if the organization you're working with finds out that their data has been put into a large language model, there could be serious privacy and considerations. Or worst case scenario, they don't work with you anymore. So that is the biggest risk that you have, especially when you look at business. But if you look at globally what's happening, it's not really different. That not too different from what you've mentioned already. So when I look, there was a hefty majority that of employees that are reporting that internationally using AI tools in their work on a regular basis, and 58% more than half. So you can call that a majority. That is, and that was exactly what we saw in the results that we saw just before as well. But to what extent AI is used in the organization you work for, that is where I see the biggest difference between the results that we just had versus what's showing here. There's 23% that don't use AI at all. There is, about 30% to a small extent, 26% to a moderate extent, and 21% to a very large extent. So what does that mean? That means internationally, organizations are giving tools to their employees more than what is depicted here. So if you look at here, that number should be higher. If it is higher, we can call this industry a more AI mature region. Now, the biggest challenge, and on top of that, it also says the age of AI, working with AI is definitely here because 3 in 5 employees report intentional regular use of AI. So if you're intentionally using regular AI regularly at work, then you have to ask, all right, how do you access AI tools used for work? And the answer was no different to what we saw with that sample size. So you can see that how your thinking aligns completely with the international thinking as well. Is a lot of employees use free publicly available AI tools. And then less than half, in terms of a percentage, use AI tools provided by the employer, and 18% said I use publicly available AI tools that I pay to access. Now, the difference here from once again, when we look at the numbers we saw, is you can see that this cohort being the majority is in line with what the organization, what internationally is happening. This cohort being a majority, where was it? The workplace has given me specific AI tools. Now, this cohort is actually quite bigger in the international arena. So that should let you gauge where you sit in terms of AI maturity. I use AI tools provided by my employer. That is an important cohort because, and there's clearly overlap, but that means these people don't have to worry about using AI at work because their employer is guiding them. Now, then there's a smaller cohort that use publicly available AI tools, but in a paid version. The reason to do that is data and privacy, because most of these technology companies, what they do is they build a paywall against the data leaving your ecosystem. And what that means is if you want your data and privacy to be secure, you have to pay for it. If you don't care about that, it's free. So I fall into that 18% myself because and also into that 42% because I work in an organization that provides me with AI tools, but I also use publicly available AI tools that I pay to access. And the reason I do that is because I get the same benefits as using the publicly available AI tools, but rest assured my privacy and my data is secure. So what we'll look at now is a few examples. So this was just to set the stage so you understand how you see the world is not very different from how the rest of the world sees itself, because it's in line. The one difference that I'm seeing is that that little cohort, whereas this is also in line with what we saw, which is people who use AI tools for personal use. So what we will get into next is a few examples as well. But before I do that, if you have any questions, please do use the Q&A section. I might actually, there is a Q&A panel as well. So if you do have any questions, please put it in the Q&A section as well. And then we can go through that as we move along. All right, now, one important thing to note when it comes to AI is the building blocks of AI. And what I call by the building blocks of AI is the application that you use. So that is your ChatGPT, your Gemini, your Copilot, whatever the application, or special, company-specific applications. Then there's the data, and then there's the infrastructure to support it. So the infrastructure is, you being able to access the internet without it being any, lag. You being able to pull the data that you need to pull from separate systems. All of that falls under infrastructure. But the most important piece of the puzzle is the data. If your data is bad, doesn't matter how good your AI, algorithms might be, no matter how good your prompt engineering might be, if your data is bad, it will not give you the result you are looking for. Data is practically the foundation of AI systems, and that includes personal information that is used to collect AI systems. It is both an input and an output of a deployed AI system. So that's important to understand as well. I'm seeing a few questions pop up as well. Okay, it's saying that they're getting an echo in the sound. I'm wondering if it's on my end, or is that are you hearing me all right, Professor Watola?
Yeah, I'm hearing you okay.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just keep going. There's another question there as well, I think. If AI service is paid for by us, is the data secure from sharing with others? Yes, and I will show an example of that in a bit as well. I'll show an example of what, say, for example, ChatGPT, what the paid version of ChatGPT looks like, and how it stops your data from leaving your ecosystem. But yeah, before we get to that, the most important piece is to understand that to solve the problem that you have, the data is absolutely critical. If it's bad data, the result is also going to be bad. So in healthcare, for example, if you were using AI to figure out where are your so let's look at a management accounting example for healthcare. If you were looking to figure out which of your hospital locations are the most severely impacted by overheads, or if you were trying to look at your hospital locations to figure out where is the overtime payment the highest because they're understaffed and therefore there's a lot of overtime pay happening. In that kind of scenario, the information that needs to feed into an AI system to give you the results you're looking for will include patient data, will include your staff data, will include data about the number of operations, number of surgeries held, will include information about the facilities itself that's managed, maintenance costs, all of that goes in. That's a lot of data feeding in. And number one, you have to make sure that that data is clean, that there is no duplication of that data. Number two, you need to make sure that data is accurate. And number three, you need to make sure that data feeds in a consistent manner. So it can't be, 3 sets of data today and 5 sets of data tomorrow. It has to be consistent in what you are feeding. If those 3 things happen, then the result you get, what you see at the application layer, will be good. If not, it will not work as well. So in a management accounting lens or just in an accounting lens, think about your Excel spreadsheets. If you are trying to solve the same problem, let's say you're trying to solve, you're trying to figure out what your price list needs to be for next year's products. To make that decision, you need to make sure every time you adjust your pricing, you are using the exact same sets of data. You don't change the model based on different sets of data at different times. The same rules apply when when you are leveraging AI to solve a problem. Now, having said that, before we jump into the accounting specific examples around AI, I just wanted to give you some AI examples for everyday work. So these are things you can use irrespective of what type of work it is. I'll next, after this, I'll get into a few examples of how AI used within a finance executive's role or within an accounting role's point of view. When you are working within the workplace, obviously it's not just about the theory, it's not just about what you learn in terms of accounting concepts, it's about carrying out tasks, everything from taking notes in a meeting to using sending emails that are succinct, sending details to customers in a way that they understand. You don't respond to your peers the same way you respond to your CEO. It's different. And so you need to make sure the email that you send matches that. All of these types of things are where you can use AI. So you can use so the first one is a couple of examples of AI tools available where you can be sitting down for a meeting. Especially, we use this a lot in this region where you don't have to worry about taking notes while you're in the meeting because the AI is taking notes for you. So you spend your entire time focused on the actual client or the actual stakeholder. Um, you can build your own GPTs, and that's a capability of ChatGPT when in the paid version. So every single type of AI tool coming out will have a paid version where it lets you build your own GPTs. I'll show you an example of that in terms of how you can build one. And then you get the everyday GPTs like Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude. So what would that look like? Let me just jump onto, let me see where I have it saved. I just need to open the right, where are we? There we go. Okay, so this is, I don't think you can see it yet. So if you have, if you want to create your own GPT in ChatGPT, you actually have an option where, so if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, you get the option to create your own GPT. Now, in this case, let's take that previous example that I had of, say, understanding accounting concepts or understanding something like revenue recognition. IFRS 15, when it came out, was quite a challenge for a lot of people to understand. So I can build my own, GPT here. So I'll call it say, revenue recognition expert. Guessing it's a little too hard to read, so I'll make it a little bigger. So let's say a revenue recognition expert. So I'll say this a GPT is an expert in interpreting IFRS 15 accounting standards and determining revenue recognition treatments uh, for contracts. Now, the description, what does it do? How does it behave? What should it avoid doing? You fill out all of that information as well. Then you can even set some conversation starters and you upload some knowledge. I've done this before, so you can see what that looks like. So I'll just pull the one that I've already created so it's easy to see. So I've created this. So I've given it the instruction saying this is an IFRS 15 expert, understands the revenue recognition principles. All analysis must be factually accurate with no hallucinations and should leverage the knowledge documentation and any releases from IFRS 15 accounting standards. Now, ChatGPT calls it instructions, but what you are basically doing is prompt engineering. You are creating prompts that make sense so that the GPT will understand the problem statement. And then to back that, you also feed it some information. So what I've done here is I've fed it some knowledge. You can upload files that basically feed it information. And that information, what I've pulled there is the IFRS 15 standard and another, a handbook that was issued by, say, KPMG on IFRS 15. So if you wanted to look at what those documents actually are, it's these documents. It's your entire accounting standard. So I've just taken the whole accounting standard, and I've taken a KPMG guide on how to calculate revenue recognition and how to do revenue recognition, and I fed it into the GPT. Now, you get the option of giving it certain capabilities. Do you want it to be able to search the web? Do you want it to be able to create images? Canvas means it's a tool that they have to create images. Do you want it to analyze data? Do you want it to be able to interpret code? You might say yes to some, you might say no to others. Then you can even create new actions. Now, that is where if you create an action, you are setting specific This is quite an advanced function, but you're setting tasks for the GPT to carry out, and you can integrate it with other systems as well. So with an API, you don't need to go that far. In this case, you're just using it for the purpose of figuring out the revenue recognition treatment. Now, there was a question about, can you actually, how does it make sure that your data is secure? You'll see there's additional settings here. When I click on additional settings, it says either use conversation data in your GPT to improve our models. You can untick it. If you untick that, your data does not leave your conversation, meaning the large language model that sits behind ChatGPT cannot use the data that you're feeding it to learn from it. So you are learning from what's openly available. So, but also keep in mind, you've restricted what the GPT can do. You fed it to very specific standards and said, only learn from this. You're telling it you can learn from the web research or from the internet as well. But in my instructions, I make it very clear, all analysis must be factually accurate with no hallucinations and should leverage the knowledge documentation. So I'm giving it very specific instructions saying, don't go pull things from anywhere else, stick to what I'm giving you. But at the same time, the large language model that sits behind this GPT is able to, it's reading millions and billions of different documents and data and pulling all of that, not the knowledge, but the ways of thinking and the ways of working into the answer you will get. Now, in your case, it can't learn from you, but you are learning from it. So that's how you should think about this. So the large language model will not learn from what you are giving it. So now, once I update this, now I have a GPT that I built, custom built for the purpose of being a revenue recognition expert. So what would I want to do now? I might want to feed it a specific let's say agreement or a revenue contract that I'm working on. So I'll just go and pull so this is a research institute that is getting funding to carry out a certain piece of research in an international research body. So I'll just say analyze this revenue agreement and determine the revenue recognition method to be used. And the accounting treatment. But I'll give it more instructions. Explain why you have stated this revenue this treatment, and highlight the clauses from the accounting standard to match this treatment. So now it's going to use its knowledge. It's going to read the agreement, read the contract, but also look at the revenue recognition principles. And now it's going to list out, all right, is there a contract with the customer? Yes. Identify performance obligations, done. And then it calls out where they are coming from as well. Determine the transaction price, allocate the transaction price, and then recognizing the revenue. And now it's going to give me a summary to say you should use the overtime using an input method like time elapsed or cost incurred. So and the accounting treatment justification is also provided. So if I was working with an international body, now keep in mind, I understand the revenue recognition standard, therefore this makes sense to me, and that is the crucial bit. You do not take this summary, this justification, and you don't copy paste this into any kind of a report and submit it. Because if you do that, you haven't verified this information. And that is why it's always important to see the justification behind it and to make sure that you are a human in the loop that is verifying this information. That was an example to show how you can build a GPT and get the result that you're looking for. But always keep in mind this result, you have to now read through it. You need to make sure you understand what it's saying. Because if you don't understand what it's saying, that next step becomes a little harder. So that was just a quick example. I'll stop there and take some questions before we move on to the next piece. Because the next piece, actually, before I do that, I did the same thing last time. So Professor Bhattavala asked me to turn the speech that I did at the CMA conference into an essay, into a paper to submit. So all I did was I went on YouTube, I downloaded the entire script, that the transcription, and it couldn't directly pull it, so I had to copy paste it. So I pulled the entire script, loaded it into my GPT, into a GPT that was built for summarizing. You'll see that the name of the GPT it's a summarizer of PDFs, books, articles, web text, and code. So it's a GPT that helps me summarize things. Now, once again, I control it, therefore it's not going anywhere else. So I control this data. And it actually helped create a very nice essay for me. Now, it was my words that I had said in the session, transcribed and converted into an essay. Could I have done this myself? Absolutely. How much time would it have taken me? Quite a bit of time. But instead, now I can review my own words and see whether it is in line with what I said. So I had to make quite a few adjustments. Even when I read through it, there were bits that didn't make sense. And that is a process that you go through. Now, before I jump into specific examples of AI in accounting, let's look at the questions. Yeah, so there's a statement saying usually we sign NDAs or non-disclosure agreements in working on assignments. In this case, can we upload those data and analyze those data through ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and other AI softwares? The answer depends on the jurisdiction you're signing an NDA with. In some jurisdictions now, there is definition that an NDA includes the use of AI as well. So it's always better to err on the side of caution. If you sign an NDA, you should definitely not be using open source AI tools because there is a risk of that data leaving your ecosystem. The question there becomes, are you using a paid version of ChatGPT or a paid version of Copilot where you can actually control? DeepSeek, for sure, especially in Australia, we've had a lot of issues where even the paid version of DeepSeek, if there is a paid version, the government has basically flat out said you should not be using it because that data is not safe. So it also comes down to whether you've read the fine print on whether that data is leaving your ecosystem or not. So with DeepSeek, even if we've had situations in the past where it says the data is not leaving, but it has. So the integrity of the company also matters. With that, what I might do is go to the next section, is around a few more examples, and then we'll cover the ethics piece. You'll see it's a very fine balance between using AI to make to make life easy for yourself, but also being afraid of it so you don't do the wrong thing. It's like it's the same analogy I can give as fire. Fire is a great servant but a bad master. AI is the same. You have to make sure you strike the balance. Without the balance, it becomes very difficult. So we'll have a look at a few examples of AI in accounting, and I'll show it to you through an ERP system. So typically, it doesn't matter what ERP system it is, AI is now being embedded. And the way AI and ERP systems work is you don't do your work and then you don't go somewhere else to figure out answers using AI. Instead, they're both mashed together. But what that does is it changes the way people work. It changes the way people think about work. And so that is important. A couple of examples here you'll see are things like, collections risk prediction. So how do you make sure your accounts receivables, your debtors pay you on time? How can you use AI to predict who's going to fall behind in terms of payments? The same thing with on-time payment predictions. How can you use your payment cycle to your advantage? How can you pay off certain suppliers quicker, or how can you push back certain suppliers to be paid later? All of that analysis can come to you using AI. Intelligent account defaulting or dynamic discounting, those are concepts where the AI suggests to you certain recommendations to help you determine how to manage your working capital better. We'll look at a couple of those examples now. Are we going for time? I think we're okay for time as well. Okay, there we go. So if you were to look at this is basically your everyday point of view of an ERP system. You have work that you do on a day-to-day basis. This is a cloud-based ERP system. So in this case, this is Oracle's cloud ERP system. The analytics that you look at, things you do on a day-to-day basis, your individual work areas, you see it all listed in one place. Now, think of one of those examples that I mentioned before was around payments, on-time payment predictions, or areas where you might want to restructure how you make payments to your creditors. The way when AI is embedded into a tool, you don't have to go looking for the information. The information is presented to you. So any highlights that you need to be aware of, they are presented to you. So in this case, for example, if I click on my notifications, similar to how you'd have, let's say, your Facebook notifications, an application like this will also have notifications listed out to you. And it'll also highlight to you what tasks you need to complete. So things that are outstanding. But let's say you want to look at your notifications and there is a notification that says, let's say, there's a downtrend in collections, there's predicted cash shortfall, all of these things that you need to act on, it lists out to you. So in this case, let's start with, a very easy to understand concept of, let's say, business to business payments. So you have to make payments. You'll see in an ERP system, you don't go building dashboards, you don't go building reports. The report exists it's just updated in real time. Your job is to analyze those reports. So in this case, this is a cash flow cycle over the next 13 weeks. What does that look like? Where do you expect to have certain issues? It's highlighting it to you with an exclamation mark. The system is telling you need to focus on these a little more. All of your KPIs that you track on a day-to-day basis, it's presented to you. Now let's look at what the problems are. I can see that there's a huge gap coming up in terms of my cash outflows. You can see in week 7, and there's another huge gap being created in week 3. So in these two scenarios, I'm going to be at a deficit in terms of cash flow. That's a problem for me. But when I click on it, I can look at what the actual the insight is being provided to me. So this is now AI at work. This is the AI looking at the data that's sitting behind this dashboard and saying there is a cash shortfall predicted. The potential cause of this is most likely, so this is a subscription business. So this is potentially a 12-month subscription term related issue. So I want to drill into this and identify a little more detail. Now I'm looking at my weekly cash flow forecast, and I can see it's highlighting those two areas again for me, week 3 and week 7. Now I'll deal with the bigger problem first. A 2 million net cash flow deficit is a problem for me. So all I have to do is click on it, and it will tell me there is a huge issue here, but it's also giving me a solution for the problem. The solution for the problem in this, and I can see why, even before I go to that, I can see why there's a huge deficit coming here. I have a massive tax bill that I need to pay, and I have a massive commission payment that I need to pay out. So obviously my cash flow, these are not standard payments. These are non-standard payments. And because of that, my cash flow is going into a deficit. Now, clearly, whoever who did the cash flow statement, didn't predict for this, but the AI is telling me that's okay. Let's solve the problem right now. The problem right now is you need to bring yourself up to a positive cash flow so you can continue to work without any problems. So why don't you look at talking to one of your working capital partners, the banks that you work with, and you have that information with you. So now if I want to learn more, now the AI is in the background feeding to me. Here are the offers from your current working capital partners, your banks, around getting a short-term loan, around getting what your working capital options might be. Now it's giving me all of this information to say, all right, here are the clauses, here are the details of each of the bank's financing options. So JP Morgan will give me a receivable trade financing product. HSBC will give me a revolving line of credit. Citibank will give me supply chain related financing. Those are their products. Those are the conditions. What should I do? I should first compare this against my current state. So I can model it. Now, the solution itself has picked out, all right, what does that do? I can actually see what the impact of it is going to be in week 7 now. All right, I'm back to almost a net zero kind of situation, but I'm out of my problem. I've gone out of the issue that I've had. So that's an example of now I didn't have to do the calculation. I didn't even have to even figure out, where I might need to resolve the problem from. The AI is feeding me the information to act on. Now my job is to activate that funding. So I'll have to then go through a whole process to, speak to the bank, get the loan approved, and then carry out the tasks from there on. You would have seen another example, like actually there was another example here, which was that other week 3 issue. In that case, it's actually telling me, well, this is a smaller issue. You can actually defer supplier payments and increase cash flow up to 45 days, meaning just use one of your credit cards or a virtual credit card program partner and push the payments out. And if you push the payments out that way, you'll still now, in this case, once again, you're working with the bank. These are B2B payments arrangements. So you're working with the banks or your credit card providers, and there's offers that each of them are offering around a virtual credit card, and you can actually make some cash back. So now not only are you dealing with your cash flow problem, but you might actually stand to gain a little as well. There's a financial benefit for you as well. Once again, I can model this. Once again, I can activate this. And when I activate it, it's a case of going through the steps of, all right, here are the steps now to onboard. I didn't have to leave the system. The AI knows what the bank is offering to me because there is a backend integration between the bank and your organization. And it's telling me, all right, here are the steps now you need to follow to authorize and approve, transmit to MasterCard, configure the card, and make sure your cash flow issue is dealt with. So that was one quick example. Now, there's plenty of examples like that that I can throw you. One other example around collections might be another good one. So in this case, I can see, for example, there's let's look at let's look at a customer who might be struggling to pay. So if I look at some of these notifications, there's one that says predicted cash shortfall of 125 million. So this is a New Zealand-based company, which is why all the dollars are coming up in New Zealand dollars. You can see, similar to the previous, payment out issue, there's another issue around a predictive shortfall in week 13. So if I want to understand that problem more, I drill into that and I can see the actual issue. You can see this is all accounts payables. My accounts payables are now fine. I've dealt with the problem there. But my FX exposure, that's also fine. But the problem seems to be in accounts receivables. It's getting bigger and bigger. So I want to understand what's causing that accounts receivables issue. And you can see that there's receivables shortfalls by customer, and there's a top contributing customer that's called AC Networks that is actually a massive debtor. Now, this is a problem for me. I don't want this guy, racking up this much debt. So I'm going to look at his details. What is the customer's details? And all of a sudden, you'll see immediately the AI is letting me know this guy is not paid. There's some collections actions already outstanding. You might want to consider a financing option where you actually help the customer out by amortizing how much he has to pay by using a financing option. And so you can initiate a financing request out of the same platform in of itself, pick the invoices that that was expected to be paid, and create a financing package for the customer, and then update your cash forecast accordingly. So that way you know that this customer now is going to take a little more time to pay, but there's a benefit in it for you as well. Right, now going back. So these are all different examples of how your way of working will now be changed along with AI. Another option or another thing that's very common place is the use of chatbots. You'll see how AI is influencing the use of chatbots quite a bit now. So for example, if I want to order a laptop, I can just go, order a laptop. I can just type it in, and it's going to say, would you like me to recommend a laptop for you based on your job role? Now it knows what my role is. So based on it, it is going to look at my entire purchase, my procurement system, the catalog of items I have available for my company. And it's going to tell me, all right, these are the options you have available for you. And you can pick one from there. And let's say that's the one you want, you pick it, you click on it, and the purchase requisition for you is now being created. You no longer have to create a purchase order. The bot is creating the purchase order for you or the purchase requisition for you to go through the process. And then once you hit confirm, it's going to now create a purchase requisition that goes to your manager for approval. Simple as that. That's a very straightforward example. Now that is nothing to do with generative AI. That is just classic AI. That is just traditional AI that's existed for a while. But think about AI-based decision making. That's another avenue to think about. If you look at, say, for example, one such notification. So I want to understand the important changes to my business. That seems like pretty important. So I'll click on that. It will give me all of this information, all of these KPIs that I should focus on. And I can see that your bookings forecast increased by 8 million from yesterday. So that's a massive change. So I want to understand that a little more. So I could now start a conversation with my chatbot to understand how to deal with this problem better. So I'll say, tell me more. Tell me about the bookings forecast change, right? And then I can actually even speak to it. So in this case, I'll put this in now, but for the next one, I'm actually going to speak to the chatbot, and let's see how this goes. All right, let's go. And let's see what this says. So it says, all right, the Unity Hotels opportunity. So this is the customer that we're working with. The hotels opportunity has changed, moved from upside into forecast, and it's pending my approval. So it's telling me this has now, it's basically moved from upside to forecast in terms of an opportunity. I need to now act on this. I might want to look at my deal progression. So I'll say, show me my deal progression. Yep, there you go. Yeah, it didn't understand me because it thought I said daily progression. So I'll go again. Show me my deal progression. My deal. See, it's even if it's AI, doesn't mean it's always going to be accurate as well. So there you go. Show me my deal progression. Okay, now it understood what I was saying. Now I can see where each of my deals are going at. It's still picking up what I'm saying. That's why this is happening. All right, so you can see, all right, Unity Hotels, that's the issue. The closing chance is 0.94%, and that's an ARR, or annual revenue of 8 million. So that's good for me. So now I could even say, I'm happy with this. I want to accept this. So I'll just say, accept the bookings forecast. Right? There you go. Now the revenue forecast remains unchanged, but the new forecast is different, but the forecast still remains unchanged. So I might want to now look at the revenue and bookings projections a little more. So I'll say, show me new revenue and bookings projections. Now it's going to show to me what I'm set to actually book as revenue versus what I've actually got as revenue. And it's telling me there's a 5 million revenue shortfall for the quarter. So now I can go and look at maybe I need to understand how many units I need to activate to reach my revenue target, because right now I'm not reaching my revenue target. So it already knows it's predicting what I'm going to say. So maybe let's just delete that. All right. How many units do I need to activate to reach my revenue targets? All right, there we go. Now it's telling me, all right, I'm hitting 850 in terms of units right now. I need to change it to 1,050 if I want to hit my revenue targets. So I could then basically finish off by asking what plans need to be updated to reach my activation target. All of a sudden, now I understand what I need to do in terms of in terms of my next steps in order to meet this revenues target, and it's even giving me a recommendation saying considering increasing overtime allowance. So I need to hit 200 more units. I need to make 200 more units of the product if I want to hit my revenue target. And the AI recommendation at the end of the day is it's going to cost 8%, but the training personnel you'll be saving on supporting materials will be around 20% more. You might want to consider increasing overtime allowance in order to hit that target. So you've reached, if you go through the process, what we've done, we've gone from seeing that we have a deal that's fallen out. Because of that, now we need to create more revenue. In order to create more revenue, you figured out what the gap is going to be and how many more units you need to create to meet that new opportunity that you have to meet. And it's telling you how to create it as well, what production you need to get there. That was another just example. So there's plenty of examples like this that I can go into. Instead, what I might do is jump back into the slides and say, these examples change based on industries as well. So insurance businesses, banking businesses, telecommunication, retail, oil and gas, government, there's value add in all of these industries. So I'm going to stop there and just say some of the examples that I showed you, they are very high level examples, but it's important to understand the problem you're trying to solve and then look at the value addition AI can bring to you. So for example, that last example that I showed you of a chatbot, I was trying to solve a very specific problem, but I go through the problem with my chatbot. So as long as you understand what the problem is and you have clarity on what the data is sitting behind it, you're fine. There's a question around, I recently mentioned that using AI without proper strategies could pose serious risks to data privacy at the company level. However, my concerns are that if we use AI together, how can employees adapt the future technological environment? Many companies have limited resources and knowledge. So I don't think they will easily move towards creating AI strategies. Very good question. And that will be the next thing that I cover in 5 minutes time. So that's actually a very good segue for me, Tamidu. Thanks for the question. But before we go into that, there's plenty of other examples about how generative AI can actually even help in terms of organizations. Let me just jump back into, sorry, let me just jump back out. I'll go back here. I seem to have timed out of my system. Yeah, I'm just logging back in, so just give me a second. But in the meantime, these are a few examples of how generative AI can help in accounting and business partnering, which is similar to what you saw before was AI in action within an actual tool helping you go through your finance function. Similar to that, sorry, hold on for a second. My laptop is crashing on me. Similar to that, you might be able to also use generative AI within a solution as well. Now, even you're using generative AI within a solution, the most important bit is making sure the data is safe. Especially with these ERP systems, the good news is the data doesn't leave your ecosystem. The data lives within the application, and provided they've built the application in such a way that the large language model is brought to you instead of your data going outside of your ecosystem, you're fine. What I'll show you is, let me just try and show an example of that if I can get one open. Sorry, my website seems to have crashed, so just give me a second while I log back in. In the meantime, the benefits that we are seeing out of these types of solutions is you're able to plan faster and more accurately, especially around using the capabilities around predictive planning. You're able to also take concepts like AI predicted insights into consideration to plan for your working capital better, especially around business expenditure. That is one area where we see a lot of benefits coming out of the AI investment you're making. How businesses are looking at it is if you are if you effectively invested in AI, you should get that return out of that investment enough to cover the expenditure that you otherwise may have not had. The example that you saw before around the payments schedules, that's one such example. All right, I've had to log back in. Let me just, you should be able to see my screen again now. Cool, there we go. All right, I've had to log into another application just for the same thing. Let's see, there we go. All right. Sorry, just give me a minute. I am just two-factor authentication. Where am I? There you go. Got it. All right, you should be able to see my screen now. All right. I had to basically go into a separate application altogether just to show you this. But basically, how would generative AI look within a solution? How would you use it? So if I was to show an example of how, say, for example, project plans and project progression. If you're trying to show how a certain project you're working on is progressing over time, you can use a similar tool. Don't worry about the tool, but worry more about how the tool is being used and what you're doing with it. So for example, you might want to keep track of all of the programs you have, all of the projects you are responsible for. You'll have a dashboard for those types of projects. You'll keep track of the project's margins, revenue, the cost, how much are you spending on each of those projects, what are the costs looking like for each period, month by month, where are the costs climbing, where are the costs low, actual and estimate to complete costs, all these standard project accounting concepts. But you might also have to communicate it with through certain reports, and that is where generative AI becomes quite useful. Now, if it's embedded within the solutions you're using, then you don't have to create these executive updates anymore. Instead, the AI can create the update for you. It's going to read all of the program details. It's going to look at the financial summary. It's going to even look at the details of each of the projects within that program of work that you're doing. So think about construction projects. Think about large scale development projects. Think about infrastructure projects is the best example for something like this. And then you get a whole summary written like this. But let's say you don't like it and you want the summary to be shortened. You can even give it prompts to say shorten summary, rewrite in bullet form for an executive CFO. For an executive, let's say focus on financial highlights. So I'm giving it instructions to rearrange itself so that it gives me the information that I'm looking for in a manner that's easy to read. So now, yep, I'm getting key financial highlights in bullet points. It's a shortened summary, and it knows that so for example, I didn't have to tell it this, but I'm going to present this to a CFO. So I'd want to focus on the financial highlights. So similar to that, depending on the persona you're speaking to, you can use the generative AI capabilities to cater to your needs. Now, with that, I'll jump back here and I'll skip most of these different examples that I have and go into that next question. It's important to jump back into this because it's another bit of a interactive piece. Let's go to that. Let's if I can find my own screen. So in that, the next question I will pose is around ethics. And this will relate to what question Tamidu had asked before as well. I think we've pretty much answered this question, so I might just jump to the next one. Based on what you've seen, what task in your role would you happily hand over to an AI tool tomorrow? Feel free to put any kind of, answer in. You can write whatever you like. What things do you want to hand over to an AI tool? Yep, reporting. You saw how reporting was done just before. The example that I showed you was quite simply that, a generative AI-based report being written up, better writing, repetitive work. Risk analysis, that's interesting. Cash flow management, that's interesting. All right, so similar things coming up: risk analysis, cash flow management, repetitive tasks, pricing, regular and recurrent transactions, cash flow management, financial projection. Some of this you already saw. I stepped you through some of these in the examples that I showed. Project appraisal, data collection and compilation. All right, so that's good to see. Now, my next question for you is, would you trust an AI-generated financial report to go directly to your CEO? This is where we're getting into how comfortable people feel. A lot of people are saying maybe with review. That seems to be the answer into a large part. A couple of people saying never. You would never trust an AI-generated financial report. Keep in mind, I mentioned the word financial report intentionally. Not just any report, it's a financial report. So a lot of people say maybe with review. The concept called human in the loop is basically promoting that, which is just because you use the AI to generate a financial report, you don't trust it. You have to go through it. And therein comes the problem that Damidu mentioned before, is that using AI without proper strategies can pose serious risks. Now, can you avoid using AI altogether? No, because people will be always bound to, or will be always attracted to use AI because it's easier, it's simpler, it saves you time. So then the imperative is on the company to make sure that they know how to create a financial report with the proper structures around how to review it. And that is the strategy now that we're talking about. If you are an organization, if your employees, if you are a leader in an organization and your employees are using AI, then it is your responsibility to build a strategy around how your employees can use AI safely and ethically in line with your policies. If you do not do that, there will be a risk of what is being reported, the decisions being made, not being accurate. And that is something we have to really be mindful of. If you look at the real focus points around this, globally, when you take that KPMG report that I mentioned as well, it talks about only 36% of people fully trusting AI to make fair decisions. And that is in line with what we saw in that survey just now as well. A lot of people will only feed it up to their supervisors after reviewing it. And that is because you can't fully trust AI to make fair decisions. Governance is absolutely key. So boards and finance leaders, they must make sure that AI tools that are used, there's no question it is going to be used. You need to ask the questions around, is the algorithm biased? Is the source of the data clear? Is there a human review in the loop? And from a regulatory standpoint, regulatory bodies, directors, and finance executives must understand where AI fits in risk frameworks. In short, you need to be able, you as a leader, you need to be comfortable in asking the question, did AI create this report? How much of this report was AI generated? And you as an employee need to be comfortable in answering or be disclosing how much of a report was AI generated. And that enables a conversation around, can you trust what is there? How much of what is written is biased or unbiased? And is the source of the data clear? Those questions become quite important. Um, you can see that KPMG report gave some good insights about how trust and acceptance of AI is seen between advanced economy and emerging economies. So there was a lot of emerging economies like India and in a lot of Southeast Asian countries that were listed in that report, where it shows that the acceptance of AI is much higher in emerging economies and it's lower in advanced economies. That is important when you are dealing with businesses in advanced economies, because at some point they are going to ask you, was this AI generated? Or you will be made to disclose whether something was AI generated in terms of what you are positioning as an offering, as a product, your commercial negotiations. At that point, you need to be aware of how they trust AI versus how you trust AI. And that makes a big difference in terms of how um, the work that you are presenting is accepted. In order to answer the question around building AI strategies, 48% of employees report that they have uploaded company information such as financial, sales, or customer information into public AI tools. That's a big problem. So this is now 50 countries worth of staff or employees. Sri Lanka was not one of them, but 50 countries worth of employees saying, almost half of them admitting that they have uploaded company information. So that's a big number, and that is why AI ethics and strategies around AI being set by the companies are important. If you are not sure, you should be asking. Now I'll open up one more question in the poll, and this is a good segue to the next question around, does your organization have an AI policy or governance framework? Do you know whether there is one? Is it formalized? Is it in progress? Are you not sure? Or maybe not yet? I'll give it another 30 seconds. So largely it's saying not yet. And that's in line with what I thought would be the case as well. If we look back at the results that we saw, or the results that we're seeing, this is part and parcel of the problem. So if there are no AI strategies or if there are no AI policies, then staff are going to put the company information into public AI tools, which is a problem. Has your organization put in place a policy or provided guidance on the use of generative AI at work? You can see 41% said no, which is in line with what we're seeing in your market as well. So that's an area that needs to improve. Now, to answer Damindu's question again, how do you get to that? There is a very structured approach to it. There are 8 principles for effective and responsible AI use. The roles and responsibilities need to be clear. People, skills, and culture needs to be a structured approach. There has to be a program around it. Your directors and your CEO and your CFO need a governance structure around it. Principles and policies need to be built around the AI policy. You need to set proper controls in place. You need to have a supporting infrastructure. There is a stakeholder engagement piece and a monitoring, reporting, and evaluation piece on the back of that as well. If you are doing it right, you can measure it, because in your organization, you can actually model this out. So your AI literacy, the benefits being clear around the use of AI, the risks being clear about the use of AI, safeguards and confidence. If you take all of your staff and ask them these questions, do you have knowledge of AI literacy? 0 to 5. Are you clear on the benefits for your role from AI? 0 to 5. Are you clear of the risks of AI? 0 to 5. And you actually map out, you can actually model this out to see, does your organization trust AI systems, and is there acceptance around AI? This model is the first step of figuring out whether where your organization is in terms of AI maturity, and on the back of that, you use these principles to design an AI strategy. That in of itself is a whole separate, executive session that we can focus on, that explains how you focus on working with AI at your work. I am conscious of time, so I'm gonna this session. I may have to. I haven't managed to cover all of the sessions that I wanted to cover. I think I basically covered 3 out of 4. So I might just go back to the top and say, I think we covered practical implications, real-world use cases, and AI ethics and governance frameworks. We haven't covered the AI agents piece, which is a whole new world, which is where you are going to use all of these AI tools to build agents for yourself to do work for you. We can always almost come back to that on a different day, I think, Professor Butterwell, because otherwise we might run out of time for that.
Yeah. Okay. You want to stop there, or
Maybe
how?
if there's any questions, I'll go through the questions that are remaining, and then that's probably the best way to go.
Nothing.
Can GPT and chatbots be embedded in ERP systems? Yep, absolutely. That is exactly how a lot of technology companies are approaching things now. So an ERP system will effectively have a chatbot, or just like I showed you, that was an ERP system in which there was a chatbot. Some of these are questions, these are just answers. Can I share the presentation? Yep, absolutely. I can share the presentation as well. Yeah, we can do a whole separate session on AI agents, I think, because all you've seen now is AI or you using AI in a way where you have to prompt it, you have to give the specific questions, and it gives you the specific answer. An AI agent is able to reason, is able to carry out actions without you having to really worry about it. I'll give a quick example. Imagine a scenario where you have the best way for me to explain this is this slide. So hold on. Let me just share my screen real quick. It's almost the latest frontier so the best way to explain it is the latest frontier. So you've seen predictive AI, some of the cash flow stuff that I showed you at the start. You've seen generative AI, authoring and summarizing all the ChatGPT pieces that I showed. And then now it's agentic AI. So building AI agents and systems or teams of AI agents to work for you. So what would that look like? An AI agent is able to author, is able to answer, and also action. Generative AI was very good at authoring. Generative AI and regular traditional AI was good at answering as well. But now agentic AI or AI agents can action on specific items as well. The best example I can give you is, imagine if you were booking a flight, let's say to Sydney, and you wanted it to be for Wednesday and Thursday, and you wanted a room at the Hyatt Hotel. You say that statement to an AI agent. It understands and interprets the inquiry. It determines the necessary actions. It retrieves your employee data. It goes into your travel system and it books the actual flight for you, and you get confirmation that it's been booked. That is so all this work you otherwise either did it yourself, had to speak to a travel agent to do for you. Now an AI agent can do it within your ecosystem. That is the level of automation that is coming up now. There's lots of examples of it as well. We'll get into that, I think, on a different day.
So, okay, thank you very much, Kaushika. I think that was really a practical session. Most of them would have been very pleased about it. And we also had a very good number, 250. Of course, 500 responses were there initially. Generally, it's about 50% or 60%, but that's a good number. So what we will do is maybe that certain areas that were left out, we may be able to take it up on another day, depending on how your
Yep.
availability and how we can do it. So that would be good. So let me once again thank you on behalf of CMA for the I think it's a very practical and useful webinar that we had on AI to show the real usefulness, how one in their workplace can make use of it. So I'm sure that's what they really were looking forward rather than maybe a theory session. So maybe we can continue the balance work for another day.
Yep.
And so let me thank you once again. I know that it may be quite late there, but certainly we appreciate the good work you have done and look forward to maybe arranging something in the
Yep.
future so that
Yep.
the members would be able to benefit.
I think
So,
either with the conference or maybe post the conference, we can look at a session specifically targeting on AI agents. I think that might be a good way to go.
right. Yeah, yeah. Of course, there is
Okay.
time before the
Yeah.
conference, but let's see, once we
Yeah.
look at it, maybe we can see how free you are and then we'll go. So thanks a lot, Kaushika. We are very
Nice.
appreciative of what you have done. And also as a member who's giving maybe a very good session to our members and others, and also for students, so that they know what is in store, because when we are really looking at what we have to do in the future, quite a lot of new things will have to come. And I'm sure that what I was discussing earlier in the syllabus, we would have done something, but we are also looking at some of the post-qualifying work that we should do for the members. And maybe we'll, as I said, we'll discuss with you and see
Yep.
how we can get it done. So thanks a lot. And maybe we will see you on
Yep.
another day,
Yep.
and we'll keep in touch. I'll let you know of the dates also about
Yep.
the conference so that you might be able to make it for that conference. Okay?
Yep. Sounds good.
Right.
Okay.
Okay
Thank you.
then. Thanks a lot then. Thank you
Thank you.
then. Bye.
Bye.